Hello, welcome back to another Tabletop Talk. So I thought I would go ahead and do a review of Red, White, and Blue Racing. I was getting ready to do the next race in my 1984 replay that I'm doing, which is the Firecracker 400, which happened to be um, Richard Petty's 200th win. He hasn't won 199 in my replay yet. He hasn't won a race this year, and in real life, he won one before this one, and then here at Daytona, he won his 200th. I think that was the last one he won, I'm pretty sure. But at any rate, I was getting ready to set up for that and thought I would go ahead and do my review. And again, understand that I don't have a ton of time with this game, so take that into consideration. And as usual, these are just my opinions, what I think about it, what I'm looking for may be different than what you're looking for, but I always find these things helpful and entertaining when I'm either looking into a game or I am excited about a game. It's always fun to find other videos that other people are doing or have done about the game. So, with that said, we'll get started. So I don't have any particular order. I did take some notes on this one, and I thought I would, again, just share my thoughts. So the first thing I'd like to say right off the bat is that this game is probably one of the best games that I have played in a long time. And those of you who have been following the channel know that I have been delving into quite a few different games, different sports, that I've enjoyed very much, but this one, for whatever reason, has really captured my imagination, and I have played a lot of it on the channel and off the channel. And so I wanted to say right off the bat that this game is a lot of fun. I probably feel like that this is probably the most fun I've had with a game since I picked up Strat as a kid, and that's saying a lot, and I might feel different about it another couple months from now, but so far this game has just a lot of fun, and part of the reason will be talked about as I delve into a little bit about the game. So first off, the game engine is brilliant. Now, I'm not a NASCAR guy. I do know that people like Dwayne has a YouTube channel, very good. Check it out. He's got a lot of few races. He is a NASCAR guy and loves this game. So that speaks volumes. But from somebody who's not a NASCAR guy, but I'm learning a lot about it, and who have played a lot of sports sims. The engine on this is just very, very good. It includes just about all the things that you would think should be in a racing game, like pit stops, of course, wrecks and problems, and I've played enough to see that at least what I have played, the results are very realistic, and what you would expect. Drivers perform like they do in real life, and again, it feels like watching a race. Play games they're known for their storytelling, and that this game is no different. Their History Maker Baseball and golf, or what I have, second season football. I have that game as well, and they do things differently in that instead of just being numbers and results driven, which this is based off of numbers, but the way they get to the results and the numbers are more storytelling. And so this game is no different. And, that adds a lot to the experience. It kind of puts some meat on the bones, so to speak. And it is really, really fun. And this game does that just like most of the other play games. Now, one thing that this game does that's better than the other play games, in my opinion, and again, this is just me, is that there's no chart lookup. You do have one chart, but and just two-sided. It has the rare results if you have a problem, and if you need to find a driver in a particular group. And that's pretty much it. It does have at the race day when you're setting up your race, if you choose not to do as played, which I recommend that you do the race week because it really adds a lot. But there's some charts in that. But other than that, all the results are taken from the cards and from your race tracks. And so I prefer that. I'm not a chart lookup guy. Again, I prefer Strat to App. But for example, App is a great game. I just don't like digging through a chart. And I probably would do some comparisons to History Maker Golf because I think there's some good comparisons that might help you understand what I'm trying to say. But golf, for example, there's an actual chart book. History Maker Baseball is the same. Not a lot of charts, but still you have to flip pages, to get where you want to go. And again, not a lot, but it is there. With this game, there's none of that. Again, based on what you get from your racetrack and from the card, you roll your dice, and that tells you what the results are. So I prefer that much, much better. Again, that's just my preference. But that, is one thing this game does that at least the other play games that I have don't. And so that obviously makes me like this game quite a bit more. And again, you get the storylines, especially with the race week. You can play as played if you'd like. Now, the seasons that they sell do not include every driver, and so I do know that the one season that I got homebrewed, they do have every driver, and that was the 1959 season. So my assumption is that the other ones have those as well. I haven't checked that, but I do know that when you get a season from play themselves, every driver is not carded. So if you want to do as played, you have to figure out how to do that, either make up your own card. I don't know of anybody who's done the extra players, so to speak. If you guys know of someone who's created those for the seasons that Play has created, let me know, because I might be interested in that. But not every driver is carded for every season. As you can see, the card quality is typical Play. They're small, which is probably necessary for a game like this. Obviously, you can see here, this is the play mat that they sell. It doesn't come with the game, but I would recommend it strongly if you play this game much at all. It's a lot better to have your bottom group all laid out and everything in front of you, but still, it doesn't take a lot of space. And in large part, that's because the cards are pretty small. However, they do look great. They have the color design of the car. You can see Richard Petty's STP design and color scheme, and so that really adds to the flavor of the game. And so, even though the cards aren't very big and the stock's not terribly great. I mean, it's not horrible. It is card stock, but, nothing glossy, nothing real thick. And I'm sure that affects the price point, which is very reasonable. You can get a complete season from them for $21, which is much cheaper than, some of the bigger companies like Atba and Strat. Any kind of season you get from them, once you get through shipping and everything, you're looking at, $80 to $100 or more, depending on what sport it is. So the price point for this is very, very reasonable. And part of that is because, they're not spending an exorbitant amount of money on the card stock. But again, they look great. And, it gives you the information you need, like the number of the car, the make of the car, what season you're playing, and who the driver is, and then, of course, the things you need to actually play the game. So, again, very functional. And the size, I guess in a perfect world, my only request would be if these were a little thicker cardstock and maybe glossy, to make them easier to shuffle. I know a lot of people use the card holders in little clear holders. I bought those. I don't care for them, so I'm just sticking with, the naked card, so to speak. However, once you play a little bit, they kind of like strat cards, get a lot easier to maneuver and to shuffle. And so once you get a couple races under your belt, it's a lot easier. Matter of fact, I'd say that, probably this is pretty close to Stratomatic cardstock, the thickness of the card. But again, you get all the important racers in a set. As far as the availability, again, there's they have created every NASCAR season, I think from '49 till the present, homemade that Red, White, and Blue Play Games hasn't created. So you've definitely got options there. I prefer the ones that Play sells just because, they got the color scheme and the cards are nicer. But, if you can live with kind of generic color schemes and it looks like they're very well put together. Again, 59 is the only one I've downloaded and cut out. And again, you may have seen this, but on my other, but this is kind of what their cards look like. So again, you just got the number of the card and all the cards look the same, but again, you can play the game, but these look a lot nicer and kind of give you, a little bit more eye candy and stuff like that's kind of fun, when you're playing a game. There's little bells and whistles and things like that make it more enjoyable. The seasons that are supplied by, again, are $21 a piece. If you are under, I think, $45, there's a $5 shipping, which is still very reasonable. So if you only wanted one season, you're looking at $26 for a set. They do have some all-star type sets by decades. The Pioneer set, it's by decade, but it's kind of like 50s into 60s. So that's kind of like a fantasy set, not a season. They've got 70s, 80s, and 90s. The set, the game itself came with the 2010s. I do know that they had like the 2000s. It's not on the website, but I'm sure that they would still sell that because I know for, up until a few years ago, that was what came with the set. So again, they've got them divvied up by decades, a lot like they do with their golf. I do have, again, the game came with the 2010s, and I picked up the 70s. So generally, I prefer seasons, but I wanted to try a couple of, decades. Again, a little bit more what if, a little bit more fantasy, just to put, the good drivers against each other, but still kind of in that time frame because racing is much different as you go from the 50s up till today. And some of the rule changes reflect that. And so, if I do the 70s, I kind of want to stay with that type of racing with those drivers. And you can do that if you just break it up by decades as opposed to, all time. So another good thing, really, really good thing about these season sets is that at least every one I've bought so far that I've checked out, they give you every racetrack that they use that year, which is really, really cool. So for $21, you're not only getting the the drivers, most of the drivers that you need, but you're also getting every racetrack. And this is a minor thing, but it's important to me, is that they actually have the real name. So like I said, I would compare this to History Maker Golf. So they're number one. I think the game comes with a couple courses. And now I understand with a course, you're looking at 18 cards as opposed to on a racetrack, you only need one card per track. And so a golf course, again, you need 18 because the holes are different. So I get that. But also they use the real name. So that just always bugged me. Again, I understand why they do it and why it's necessary. But it really adds a lot to my enjoyment that I've got Daytona International Speedway and it's not called, Sun and Surf Speedway, or the, by the beach Speedway. I really like the fact that they have the real name. So again, that's a minor thing, but it's an important one to me. But again, you get every racetrack. So here in the 84 set, they raced at 15 tracks, and so all 15 of them are here. They actually went to each one twice, and I believe they actually put in one, a bonus one. Yeah, this Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, Ohio. They didn't actually race a cup race at that one, and it wasn't called cup back then, but at any rate, so this was kind of even a bonus one. So when you get a season set, at least what I've looked at and done so far, you get every racetrack that you need to complete that season, which is really, really cool. So that's a really nice feature that you get when you get a season. So again, price point's really good, $21, and these are on good quality. Maybe a little even. These may even be a little better card stock than Stratomatic cards, maybe just a little. But at any rate, so you get that, and you also get the gold card for each one for the TV drivers. So I'm not going to go into a lot of gameplay here, but so you get 2 cards for each driver, all the racetracks that you need to complete that full season. And so again, I'm assuming that's the way. I've got quite a few of the seasons, but I haven't broke them apart and actually started playing with them yet to see if all the racetracks are there. But I assume they are, because 84 is. So that's really a cool feature. So the game is a lot of fun, whether you're doing a one-off race or whether you're doing a season replay. So I will say, especially when you're using the race week and you're not doing as played, because I've kind of, in my 84 replay, the last race I did, I tried an as played, where I went to racing.com or whatever that website is and did the pole positions based on real life. I did roll for TV drivers to give me that because, again, you've got that on the card and you need TV drivers, but I didn't do the race week. It was more realistic, but at least for me, it wasn't nearly as fun. Again, because a lot of the storyline is coming from your race week and actually going in there and using that to get your pole position set up. So for me, I found that I probably will finish this 84 replay. I'm about halfway through it. I'm on race 16 of 30, doing the race week. And so again, more what if, a little bit more variability around what happened from real life. But again, whether you're doing a one-off or whether you're doing a season replay, they both are very, very fun. But when you get into the season replay, that's where I'm finding a new depth of enjoyment, because it again you get a history when you have feuds and fuming, even though they may not last, they may come back around again, where the 2 same racers will butt heads, or they're 1 and 2, like they had a feud last week, and they took care of it, the rabbit got moved to the bottom or whatever. But this week they're 1 and 2, racing 1 and 2, and or they overtake them and take over the lead. So again, it gives you a history and a recreated history, if you will, of that. So when you get into a replay of an actual season, that is a new depth of enjoyment that. As much as I love the one-offs, you definitely get something deeper when you get into, a season replay or a project of some kind. I mean, again, like on the decade sets, obviously that's not going to be a replay, but still you would have kind of the same thing where you kind of get some history and, some storylines as you move through the project. But one negative, which really isn't a negative to me, but it could be to other people, is that this isn't a game where there's a lot of strategy. So it's not the kind of game where you're the driver and you make the decision. So basically, most of it's automated, to where it, there's not a lot of decisions if you follow the rules. Now, of course, as far as the performance chips, that's probably where you would make most of your decisions. And if you wanted to go that route, you certainly could. I, for one, am just kind of, following what the instructions say, to where if you have a performance chip, you use it. So there's not a lot of decision making. So it's more of a watching it on TV, which tends to be what Play kind of does in their games, at least the ones I have. And but for me, that's perfectly okay. I'm not wanting a game where there's a lot of strategy, or where I have to make decisions for individual drivers. Again, going back to my Stratomatic baseball, I like playing along with the computer because it makes the decision. So even second guessing for two teams is not right up my alley. So doing it for 40 drivers, that would obviously be multiplied severely. So I actually like the fact that it's more of a, you're watching it unfold, and you're kind of the I don't know, you still, at least I do, feel like I'm a part of it, even though I'm not making decisions. I'm the conductor, if you will. I'm rolling the dice. I'm making the changes and doing the things. So I still feel like I'm a huge part of the action, even though I'm not making strategic decisions. But that's just how I feel. I know there's other people who might not feel that way, and that's perfectly all right. But if you're looking for a game where you're in the driver's seat and making decisions, this probably isn't going to appeal to that a whole lot. But again, for me, it's just fine. So again, every season's available if you with the homemade plus the special sets. Price very reasonable. Going through my list here. They also have fictional sets, so that's another thing Play does quite a bit of in their games, and it's called the Scram. I don't remember what that stands for, but I do have one set of that. I've done one race. I had a hard time getting invested in those, and again, with just one race, that's understandable, and I'm sure I will try that. I have the 2012, but a lot of people who love this game you do the Scram. So again, if you like fictional sets, even though they're not listed on the website, you can contact the guys at Play, and they can hook you up with I think 2012 through now. They have 1960, which is kind of like a throwback Scram, and then I understand they're going to do one from the 90s, is what I heard. So if you like the fictional, you can request to buy 2012 through now, so you can definitely create your own NASCAR or stock race driver racing world, and get invested in those guys. And so again, so far I'm preferring the real life NASCAR, but again, that's an option, and you have a lot of options there. And the sets that aren't listed are 21 as well, because you also can do that with like 2012 through now with the pro season. Even though they're not listed on the website, you can get that. I know I got the 2012 NASCAR. And so again, you just request that, and so I'm pretty sure they got 2012 through now, because that's when they started making the game. And so if you want to request that, you can. They're still 21 apiece, at least the 12 was. I assume the rest of them are the same. So again, you have that option. A lot of guys enjoy that. Some real creativity went into that with the tracks and the drivers, so they did a great job with it. So if you like that kind of thing, that's an option. It's not difficult to learn. You can pick it up after a few races. There's a few things to remember. For me personally, for whatever reason, there's a couple things that I just keep forgetting. Like, for example, if there's a trouble and somebody doesn't roll high enough to escape, I keep forgetting that if they've got a blue chip, they can use that to avoid being collected and wrecking. But again, other than that, it's like most of these games, you got a little bit more basic, and then some advanced rules that you can add in. Play games, another thing they do, they intentionally kind of leave things a little open-ended for you to kind of, make your own house rules. Some games lend themselves more to that, and play games, and this one in particular, definitely do that. So if you like that kind of thing, you can do that. And, everybody kind of, in the open-ended things, everybody kind of gets the things that kind of work for them. And I've done the same. So a lot of good videos of people playing, so you can kind of see what some people are doing, but not difficult to learn, and not difficult to, to master either. And again, once you get a few races under your belt, you get a pretty good flow. Feel like you're getting there. It covers, again, for me, a good game engine needs to be in-depth enough where it doesn't feel simplistic, but not so in-depth that you are constantly second-guessing yourself, afraid you're forgetting something, because there's so many rules and so many, what ifs, so many rabbit trails, so many different ways you can go, and then you just forget where you're going. So for me, this game has got the in-depth results and covers all the bases without being too difficult to where it's just not fun, because I'm having a hard time remembering where I'm at. So I do have a few tools that I use like these to remember, where I'm at if I have a problem, and I put a little thing there to help me remember not to forget that, and then a couple of these guys to remember where I'm at when I'm doing my check. So a few things to kind of help me not forget things. But so for me, not difficult to learn. A couple outside things. Play customer service is top notch. You won't find any better than Keith at Play. He is just great and really involved. Obviously, they have their own YouTube channel. You don't see that a lot with the big boys, where they really involved with the customer base. They have different get-togethers. I believe I've never been to one, but where they have conventions, so to speak, with the play game. So and every interaction I've had with them has been top notch. When I order something, it gets here, they get it out as soon as possible, and again, just top notch. You couldn't do any better. There's a pretty good community. Again, all the seasons that Play doesn't sell, you can get, and so that's a good community. Facebook and on Delphi, and even on Game Geek or Board Geek. That's where all the seasons are. There's some communication there. So if you have questions, you can obviously reach out to Play. But there's also a lot of people in the community that you can reach out to, where they'll help you as you're learning the game, and that's always a plus. A lot of YouTube videos of people playing. That was very helpful to me, and so you can check those out. And, it's not only learning the game, but when you get a new game and you're excited about it, you kind of want to share with others. And so most of us live in a place where we don't have people around us who are interested or care about the hobby. So YouTube, obviously, you can go in and watch other people play, and so not perfect, but again, it kind of gives you an opportunity to share, and of course you can make comments and things like that to kind of interact with one another. But the community for Play and for red, white, and blue racing in particular is pretty good. Another negative for some people is that it does take some time to play, especially if you have a 50 or 60 turn race. But I can honestly say that of all the games I've played that take a little time, this one doesn't feel like it to me. I don't. It's really unusual. Again, about any football game you play, I enjoy the football games, but any play-by-play or basketball game for that matter, most hockey games that are play-by-play are going to take you some time to complete a game, and it feels like it. Even though I enjoy those, that's a negative for me. For this game in particular, the time hasn't been a problem at all. It feels I'm engaged the whole time. I'm interested in what's going to happen next, and so again, I don't have another game that plays this long that I feel that way about. Even though I get through the other games and I enjoy them immensely, for me, the time is still an issue with them. This one it isn't. So for what that's worth, again, that's just me. what I'm looking for. It's just that it keeps me engaged, excited, wanting for the next result. And even though it might take a little time to play, it doesn't feel like it. And so, and again, you can get through a replay, and most seasons had about 30 races, so that's you're not too long. And again, it's just the excitement of seeing, however you do your points, who's moving up the ladder, and the excitement of seeing how the point race adds up. It just keeps me engaged, and I enjoy it very, very much. So I think that's all the notes I have. So again, of all the games that I have tried recently, I've enjoyed them all very much, but this one, for whatever reason, has just really captured my imagination, and I enjoy it very much. So Dave Gardner just did a video about anticipation, which was excellent. Check that out. Dave's always got good things to say about the hobby, but he was talking about when you get new seasons and things like that, the anticipation of looking forward to them. So, I've got some very good, again, I've got already, I tend to do this. When I find a game I like, I load up on their season. So I've pretty much got every one that Play has available. So, I've been debating on whether to go ahead and do the next 80. I think 89 is the next one they have. 79 would be great, because then, you're going back a little bit. The Pioneer set looks very, very interesting. I even picked up 2022. So those of you who know me, typically not a big fan of modern sports, but, I thought I would give this one a try. And I've been watching some YouTube videos of the different races. I think they're going to race on dirt at Bristol this weekend. I probably won't be able to watch it because of my schedule, but however, I can watch the highlights. So when I got into hockey last year, I kind of gave the modern hockey a try, and it just kind of didn't grab my imagination and my attention. But giving this a whirl, I did when I got into golf a year or so ago. And the replays, the sports, ASG and History Maker Golf and Action PC. I tried to get into that, and actually was enjoying modern golf until Live came along, and that just kind of has ruined it for me. I'd like to see the best players play each other on a regular basis, other than just majors. So he's like, well, crap, here we go again. But we're giving NASCAR a shot and see how that works out. I will say one thing, at least when it comes to playing this game is concerned. The newer seasons, they don't have nearly as many mechanical problems, and to me that is an interesting aspect of the game, and especially like in the Pioneer set, a lot of people didn't finish the race, and so when everybody is finishing the race and you don't have nearly as many problems and mechanical problems, to me that was kind of an interesting aspect that I prefer that, at least in my cards and dice game. But we'll see. Again, I got the 2022, I got 2012, and I probably end up getting 13 and on if I continue to play it and enjoy it. So at the price point, again, $21 a season, every track. And also I really would like to try one of the decades. Again, I got the 70s and the 2010s, so that'd be interesting. You're a little bit more fantasy, and so a little bit more open-ended, and you can really see how the best drivers of that decade will fare against one another, and so that would be interesting. So at any rate, as usual, this isn't exhaustive. It's just my thoughts on the game so far. I've got a lot of time with it, at least per hour, but as far as length, I've had it about a month, and so take that into consideration. And as usual, any comments or things I missed, things you like about the game, things you don't like about the game, feel free to put those in the comments. I always enjoy those very much. And again, great game, enjoying it. Appreciate everybody's videos who have done games about it, and keep doing that. Dwayne especially. His videos are great. He's the guru when it comes to this game. And so I definitely appreciate all his help in his videos. So anyway, I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you next time.